So a few things on the agenda. Obviously, United losing and Ashworth. Yeah, they're two big things. So who's getting to United's loss? And just basically, you can learn Amorim's system as much as you want, right? If you're this squad, this squad could learn this system as much as they want. If you don't have two players in these positions where Garnacho and Bruno were, that can create, that can actually get into the half spaces, can get in between the lines, take the ball in the half turn, that want the ball, right? If you're not going to play players of a certain profile in those positions, this ain't going to change, right? Ten Hag, like the nails were being smashed into his coffin, by the front four that he had. Now, if you still play that front four, but just in a different configuration, their lack of ability and lack of qualities in certain areas are going to still be the things that let you down. And that's what we're seeing, right? We are in a way more solid, better scenario, progressing through the first 2/3, right? So that's been the case pretty much from the get-go with Amorim. But if you can't transition the ball through the thirds on the floor with some kind of security, because there needs to be security when you're threatening, right? You need to be able to keep hold of the ball while offering threat to the opposition. Every time that you want to offer threat, it can't come at the expense of possession. If you want to offer a threat, you have to be able to keep possession while offering that threat. Not all the time, granted. You do need to take risk in a football game, 100%. But you need to be able to have the technical quality in the final third to be able to hang on to the ball and recycle and look for openings and actually be able to choose an opening instead of just going for the first one that opens up. And that's what Man United have been for near enough. Even with Ferguson, United have never been a pretty possession-based team. But in this, especially in this system, personally, I don't think having a winger and Bruno Fernandes in those 2 10 positions, that's just not going to cut it. You can't just keep recycling between Garnacho and Rashford on one side, and then Bruno, and then Mount, who comes in for Bruno for 20 minutes. Those four are not good enough to create for an elite level, wanting to be an elite level team that's playing against low blocks, that's playing against tough midfields. Garnacho, Bruno Fernandes, right, in these positions, because they played, right? They started in these positions. You need players in those positions that want touches on the ball, but in dangerous areas. So as one of these number 10s, right? Oh, God's sake, yeah. As one of these number 10s, you basically need to be willing to, and you not even willing. You've got to want. You've got to be the type of player that wants to get touches on the ball, but hold your position, right? And this is like what everyone seems to constantly forget with. So let's just do it how I would want to play, because this is the team I'd play anyway. Right. So in these two players, if it was Ahmad and Mainu, when the ball's anywhere in this channel, whatever, let's get it to how it would be. As the ball is getting cycled around here, the ball needs to be able to come into like Casemiro and then get popped out back to Mazraoui. And then Delic needs to get on it, and Maino needs to pop in, and he needs to get a touch on the ball, and then he probably goes back out. And as you're doing this, you're progressing up the pitch, right? But the ball's getting popped in and coming back out, popped in and coming back out. And obviously, throughout this, there's all sorts. You can obviously look for the long balls if you press it, squeeze everybody in, but this is just simple, right? Like basic stuff. These two players have got to want to have touches on the ball. And they've also got to be probably our most technically efficient players. dynamic 100%, be able to offer a threat in behind, which Ahmad could. But the most important thing is to be able to take the ball in these areas. Garnacho and Bruno don't want to get on the ball. Like, look at... Like, where is he? Look at Bruno here. Right? 68... He's under 70% for to keep the ball. Like, and don't tell me he was trying loads of shit. He Garnacho. He attempted 22 passes. Like, Rashford was on for 30 minutes, attempted more. That's Rashford. So these guys that are in these two positions, like, aren't proficient at getting on the ball on the half turn, being secure with it, and basically dictating possession when it goes into that kind of middle final third area. So like with all the with all the positivity, and which is still there 100% with Amorim, like, this isn't going to change until the player profiles in those forward three positions change. It's basically as simple as that. This isn't like they need to learn the system more. They don't have the ability to play within a structured system. Bruno has never shown the ability to play in a structured system and be like a system player and do the correct thing for 90 minutes. That's not his game. His game is do the wrong thing for 89 minutes. And then do one really good thing in one of the minutes. That's Bruno's game. That's what he's built on. And obviously, as a lot of fans, that's how their kind of reward system works in that way, where it's completely fine. Like, they almost enjoy their players playing bad for a long period of time as long as they score. I don't know. It's like a badge of honour to be bad for periods of the game and then score. It's like almost, people think it's almost better than playing well and scoring. It's weird. Proper weird. But yeah, as you can see, Bruno and Garnacho in those positions, it's I understand what Amorim's wanting to do. Bruno's a captain for starters. He's chopping and changing his position because neither of them he's great at. Let's have it right. He's not looked great in the deep role, and no one so far in those 10 spaces looked good. No one, but he's played Rashford, Garnacho, Bruno and Mount. None of them are good enough to play in those positions in this system. Not a chance. No chance. Like we said, the quartet that really put the nail in Ten Hag's coffin of Højlund, Bruno, Garnacho and Rashford, the only one that you can give a slight bit of leeway with, and I know this sounds weird because he's not good, is Højlund. Why? Okay, not because he's got any ability going whatsoever. What the thing with Højlund is, there's certain raw characteristics of his game that if you play two technical players in the 2-10 positions behind him, you could get balls starting to get slid down the sides for Højlund, and he can be a problem in those scenarios. That's the only scenarios he can be a problem in. He seems to be an okay-ish finisher, like an okay-ish one, and so there is ways to utilise Højlund that, like, out slightly, but there is ways in this season if we have to, right? But Bruno Fernandes is not going to come up with game. Like, I understand he scored a goal, right? He's got a good connection on shots, but you surely can see that everything breaks down because we don't have presence in those number 2-10 positions. It's all, I think Amorim maybe just think, right, we're just going to try and get through this with energy and just pure hard work. But there has to be quality in those areas. Ahmad cannot play on the... I understand that he plays well there. There's probably a million metrics why he should play there, and the data says this, and blah, blah, blah. And he gets in the wide positions anyway. That's fine. But in build-up, Ahmad isn't there offering Central League, and he's one of the only players that we have in the squad alongside Mainu that can actually, and Xerxes, that can actually receive the ball in those half spaces and drop into the half space, receive the ball, drop in between the lines and pick up the ball in build-up. So if you don't want it arcing round constantly all game and us having it seemingly being impotent in attack, you need to get 2 players in those positions that can just receive the ball in those areas. It's literally as simple as that. Like, I'd have no idea why that's such a complicated thing. Like, you don't need to have Ahmad playing in that role. Just play Malacia and Dallo. Or if you really, really want to play this inverted, yeah, play Anthony inverted. He can do all the same. He's basically Ahmad without, like, just not at the same level. He's got similar characteristics to Ahmad. He's just not as good. But you need to play your technical players in those positions. Like, play Anthony in one of them 10 positions. Honestly, I'm not even... Seriously, Anthony will do a way better job than Garnacho and Bruno in those 10 positions. Because he'll actually get on the ball. And he'll actually offer for the ball in those positions. And I understand, like, stats. We could look at Bruno's, like, progressive passes. He's got 9 progressive passes and carries, etc. It does, yeah. It baffles me how little our 10s can get on the ball at home against Nottingham Forest. You have to be brave and technically of a level to be able to actually work in those areas. And playing Garnacho and Bruno in those areas with Højlund up top, nothing's going to stick ever. Like, it's just not, is it? And I get he's cycling through, right? I get it. He's cycling through players, and I'm fully with that, fully with it. But you've got to start cycling. You've got to start changing the profile in those 10 positions. I think that's the most glaring thing. If you stick with those 4 in those 10 positions, and like, it is what it is, right? If that's how it's going to be this season, and then it's basically a write-off, writing the whole season off, then that's cool. But those 4 players, it will not work with Rashford, Bruno, Garnacho and Mount in those 10 positions. It's just not going to work. Play Mainu and Ahmad in those 10 positions. And this whole thing, the flow from the first third to the final third, it'll be a lot smoother. You might not have as much danger with going in behind, but then if you play Malacia and Dallo, you've got, like, good pace in the wing back areas still, so then you can get pace in behind that way. You need to be able to offer threat in possession in those in between the lines, and there needs to be some type of link-up play within that zone. Yeah, within this blue zone, there has to be some kind of link-up play. Like, Bruno and Garnacho just don't offer it whatsoever, and I think if he doesn't start playing around with these 2, it's going to be like a really tricky. Like, like, if we just completely tank this season, is what it is. Like, Amorim's definitely I really think he's the guy for us to have, right? And that doesn't, again, it's just not like a tactical thing. It's like, it's about the person, honestly, especially at, like, a big club. And then it's about, can he communicate and can he keep this healthy, and then, but also, has he got a mean streak through him that wants to, like, raise the level of the squad and the team, and all those answers are yes. Like, Amorim's definitely the guy. Like, I'll give him all the time in the world. And Ineos, like, I'm fully on board with Ineos, Amorim. But this season is just going to be tough for them if they keep persisting with Bruno and Garnacho and Rashford in those 10 positions. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the team. It's the game was what it was. I didn't. I, like, passed out before the game. Woke up for the second half. Saw the goal. Saw, like, the 2-1. But yeah, it was just basically the same continuous pattern's going to keep repeating. Obviously, if you keep picking the similar player profiles in these positions, so the build-up play is going to be fine. Ugarte is going to continue having good games. Casemiro will continue looking solid when he plays. And then Mainoo's going to look okay in the deeper role, but the best of Mainoo's work is going to be done higher up the pitch in tight pockets. And then when it gets further up, then with Bruno, Garnacho, Rashford, and Højlund, and even Xerxes looked okay-ish at times with his link-up play. Well, he's looked good with his link-up play. But realistically, the old guard there, that quartet, are causing all the issues still. It's the same season, so you can't... What can Amorim do apart from not play them? Let's see what balls Amorim's got, like early doors. Let's see if he can be ruthless, like Radcliffe's been ruthless with Ashworth. Let's see if he can be ruthless with Bruno, or let's see if we can be ruthless with Garnacho. Do you think? Let's see if he can stop messing around with his profiles a little bit in those 10 areas, because he's really set on playing one winger on the in the right back position, and then playing one winger in one of the 10s. Basically, then still having, if this is a winger, then he comes in and it's basically turns into what we were playing, right? One winger is always there, and then one winger is here, comes in. So, yeah, maybe he's thinking, right, for this season, we're just going to make it simple for them. You're basically doing what you were doing. You're basically here, right? This is what you were doing before I came. And what we're doing now is this. Do you know what I mean? It's just that. That's the difference. So, in that sense, and he's saying, obviously, make it a bit narrower. That's I want it narrower than what you were doing. But in that sense, he's doing it so we've got one winger plays here that comes in, and the other, the 110 is the other winger. So hopefully it's this season he's doing it so it's like, right, it's simple for you guys because it's basically what you were playing. Because personally for me, yeah, these two positions are so massively important, and if you haven't got real good technical quality in those areas that wants to take the ball and have the half turn, and we are still relying on the same players. And if you're going to rely on Bruno, Rashford, Højlund and Garnacho, you're going to finish 8th again. It's pretty simple, isn't it? So yeah, and then we just move on to the is the Ashworth decision really that bad of a look? Like everyone's like, oh, it's embarrassing, it's this. They're like, what would you rather? Would you rather them go, oh, you know what? The fans are going to go mad if, everyone's going to laugh at us if we get rid of this guy. It's like, no, mate. The idea is, it's not even, everyone's saying, oh, it's ruthless. Like, Radcliffe's been ruthless. How's he been ruthless? Like, it's not working. Let's part ways. If this guy wanted to keep Ten Hag and wanted to get Southgate in, they're two like really egregious things that are putting the club at risk almost, right? You know what I mean? To a certain extent. There's obviously nuance to both things, but you can look at it, if you look at it really just black and white, they're not good things, like. And I feel like if Amorim wasn't part of what Ashworth wanted, and he wanted to keep Ten Hag, and then he bought De Ligt because Ten Hag wanted him, and it was to appease Ten Hag, and he wasn't fitting with what everyone else wants. Like, what do you expect to happen? They're getting on with their business regardless of what everyone thinks, and Amorim is doing the same thing. Like, regardless of what everyone's thinking, regardless of what the media thinks, the media and everyone have got used to almost having like an influence on Man United's decision making as a club, because that's kind of what it felt like for the Glazer tenure. That whatever kind of the media sway was going, then that's kind of where Man United were making their decisions based on, whether that be transfers or the fans' feelings towards managers, etc., or decisions of the club for that matter. So yeah, if there's too many cooks Ashworth constantly wanting everything different. If Radcliffe thinks that this transfer window is like really poor, nearly spent like 200 mil, but poor, right? And you could argue that Mazraoui, okay, really good signing. Okay, cool, really good signing. But that can't. And then De Ligt, solid. Xerxes looks fragile in a lot of parts, but then looks good in parts also. But you can't be like, yeah, amazing signing just yet. Of course you can't. Yeah, Xerxes, Mazraoui, De Ligt. The fuck else did we sign? Oh my god, if I'm blanking on the signing. Ugarte. Yeah, so he's saying that I thought that's like a solid summer transfer window, if I'm honest. And I think Ashworth has had good transfer windows in the past. Like his Newcastle deals were all pretty solid, man. Like Gordon, Isak, Livramento, Barnes. That's like solid, man. You can't really do like much better as a Newcastle like DOF than that, really. And I thought these 4 signings were like, I understand what you're doing, Xerxes. De Ligt's been like, if we didn't have De Ligt, mate, we'd be looking short. Yoro, sorry, we signed Yoro as well. Yeah, so who did I say? Anyway, yeah, so I don't think it was like that bad, the transfer window, but I think the whole thing with Ten Hag, and then like the fact that he's obviously wanting to go down this like all British type route. And I think Brailsford, like eventually you'll see like Brailsford's probably made some decisions that Radcliffe's not really happy with as well. I think he wanted to kind of probably go. He probably spoke to Fergie loads, Brailsford, and he's probably, yeah. I just got a feeling that Brailsford's probably. I think it's like Wilcox and Barada, and they just want to crack on with it, and then they've got like Ashworth and Brailsford wanted this like FA English vibe. Let's get Southgate in. They're like, no, mate, we're not doing that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I just don't really see how, if anything, it's obviously a good thing for they can streamline whatever they're in terms of the football hierarchy there. If it is just Jason Wilcox, it'll kind of take over that role, or he stays technical, and then they're obviously going to get somebody else in. They're on about this Berta guy or whatever from Atletico Madrid. Yeah, at the moment, the landscape is that Man United seem to have something going that's not like heinously awful, horrific club. We've got an ownership that care, a football ownership that care, and really want to make it work right. So that in itself is obviously just like alarm bells for everybody else. Not that United are going to win anything anytime soon, but that means that the juggernaut that is Man United will finally be starting to get utilised for what it's worth, whatever that is, right? There's going to be someone's going to try and make use of this Goliath of a football club. So that's where we're at. So that's where we're at with it. Now, in regards to, someone's going to make a massive, someone's just talking, bro. Anyway, so it's a danger in the sense that we've got an ownership that cares. And then we have a structure in place where we had like this Avenger type thing being put together, or for Man United fans, it felt like an Avenger thing. Maybe for other clubs, it's like, oh, this is what we've had for ages. We haven't had that. United haven't had any of these things. So we're just excited to get structure. And then when you start giving us names that we've heard about, or names where we're like, oh, okay, he's come from City and he was like this and he was lauded and that people wanted him. So you start putting the pieces together and you go, this is actually quite a good structure. It's still a really good structure. It's a good structure universally, and it's a good structure for where we were, but it's still a good modern football structure that is just trying to streamline itself. That's how any business operates. You start a business and then you hire X amount of people, or you've got X amount of different roles that you've got, and then you start realizing, actually, like, this guy's not really kind of like on board with the culture here, so we're gonna have to like kind of jig. Maybe we don't even need that role, actually. Maybe that role's kind of like not really useful. So then you start rejigging things, and that's kind of just like a normal thing. And obviously it's United, so every single point on this stage, like on this kind of like rebuild of the club as a whole, right, from the Ineos, every stage where there's anything where there's going to be like any bumps in the road, which is going to be like, it's going to be like a stock, it's going to go like up, down, up, down. But I think what we can all guarantee that it's finally going to start tracking in a positive direction, and it is tracking in a positive direction. We're just at like a slight blip again, like a slight blip. That's all it is. Now, on the football pitch, yes, we need to start seeing different players in certain positions and different profiles, like we've discussed. But yeah, all this stuff with Ashworth, like, yeah, I was massively excited about Ashworth, because I thought that the business that he did at Newcastle was really good, and I didn't think that this summer transfer window was that bad, and I think all these players will come good that Ineos have signed. If not, they've already come good in certain games and in certain instances. But this will continuously happen at every step of the way with Manchester United. Every loss will be back to when we were good. Like, it's back. It feels like a United fan again, that people want to start giving crap to United again. And we went through a moment where people weren't bothered about even giving United any shit anymore, because United are that poor and embarrassing. And that's literally up with Ten Hag. Like, no one was even giving United any crap anymore. Like, because no one could be bothered. It wasn't even fun anymore to give United shit. But now it's starting to get. They're starting to not even enjoy it, but they're starting to. It's natural for fans obviously to hate Man United. It's in their blood, right? Do you know what I mean? They grew up with it. And that's just back out that natural urge, because I feel like, not that there's threat. There is no threat at all at the moment from Man United, right? No one's under any illusions that this squad's going to do anything. But these guys are going to give it a massive go. And we know that, to get it back to where it was. And if it gets anywhere near its potential in the modern day game, that's a massive issue for everyone else in the Premier League eventually. But we're on that journey. This is just the really crappy initial parts of it. But we are on it. Ineos have barely been in a year, and the amount of stuff that's changed, and we're in so much of a better position than we were a year ago. So, like, let's not care about if one guy leaves and it's embarrassing because they're chopping and changing. Yeah, they're chopping and changing because they're trying to get it correct. They're doing it as if they were just in their garage starting a business. They're going, right, no, that's not right. Next guy. And that's how this has to be. And it has to be like that with the players. And hopefully it is. This ruthless streak is another part of the culture that needs to be embedded into Manchester United. And that ruthlessness, hopefully, soaks into the kind of bedrock of the club, like at Real Madrid, like at Chelsea. It's just facts, right? You want the winning teams, the ruthless. So stop being a mom and pop family club trying to be global, and actually be that ruthless juggernaut that we're meant to be. Do you know what I mean? Vamos.